and we'd like to hear what your thoughts are, what your concerns are, what your worries are, and if there's things that have changed for the better, we'd also like to hear that, because I think, let's not forget that a lot of things have changed for the positive. Certainly the World Cup helped us a great deal in terms of our roads and our infrastructure. So it's great to travel a lot of the roads that we travel around the country. But let's get back into conversation with our guests here that we met just before the break. Minister, Gauteng, sore point at the moment. President has just signed the e-toll bill, that's what I'll call it, just so that everybody understands what we're talking about. So when will it go live?
This week we have finalized actually last week the regulations, and this week we would be dealing with the tariff structure and starting with the process to advertise, not even advertise, to publicize the tariff structure. And I believe that the laws introduced by this ANC government, which calls on transparency, demands of us to run for about 30 days with that, for the public to know the structure of the tariffs, and the fact that some of the people will be exempted, especially those who use public transport. That tariff structure also speaks to that, your taxis, your buses and other public transport modes, but also to make sure that we speak about the issues of signage and all that. And after 30 days, I'm sure it will take us about 7 days to 14 days to get the ball rolling.
So before the end of the year, Gauteng will be e-tolling?
I would say so.
All right. Now, you know there's a lot of opposition to this, and I'm just wondering, what is it that perhaps we're not understanding, the public are not understanding, that the ANC Youth League, in fact, are not understanding, that seems to make sense to you and the ANC government about this project and this way of collecting funds? Because I don't think anybody's saying that we shouldn't pay for the roads, but I think the issue is the way it's being done. Is e-tolling the best way to do this? What is it that we're not seeing?
We have communicated the different ways of funding roads infrastructure. And we have also, and I'm sure you've heard what Nazir said, if you look at that 14%, where would the money come from? Because you have stretched the little runs that Treasury is giving, that comes from taxes. You add and crowd out other services. Yes, as a transport sector, we'll be very happy to say, give us all the money that government has and reduce the money for schools, reduce the money for building other social infrastructure, reduce the money for pensions for the aged, reduce the money for feeding children in schools. Is that what South Africans want? So we need to look for a way in which we can say, balance that which the fiscus is bringing in, but also bring in the ability of the road users being able to pay. And we are saying this 201 kilometers that is already constructed in Gauteng, the principle of user pay will apply because we've got alternatives. The public transport system that we're talking about, making it possible that people get onto public transport, but the objective of the Gauteng Freeway Improvement project was to decongest our road networks. And I would want to say, really, they've done a good job. And I need to congratulate. So you're saying
that by putting these tolls in place, you're going to get people off the freeways and decongest?
No, not get people off the freeways, to allow for ease of movement. Remember the extension of the lanes,
right,
the number of lanes that have been included, but also making it possible that the other areas are directly opened up. And I want to say, if I have to backtrack a little bit, we have also created alternative routes to make sure that those who are unable to get onto the freeway, those who don't want to get onto the freeway, those who don't want to pay, can use the alternative roads.
But aren't you going to clog up the alternative roads? And I'm still not understanding. It's still, the cost of collection is huge. You're telling us that you need billions to fix, maintain other road networks, and yet we've chosen one of the most expensive systems to collect money. Does that make sense?
You know, the interesting thing about this technology, or the fact that we don't acknowledge that this technology is not South African technology, it's imported, and we have to pay for it. Just like your cell phone, just like any other technology that we use. The best technologies come from elsewhere. We even boast in South Africa about where my technology comes from. So equally so, the method or the technology that is used, we have to pay for that one. And that is the angle that I would
But
want.
why not just add 2 cents to the petrol price or something?
That is a very interesting question you raise. Add 2 cents and get everybody in the country
Yes.
to pay for the roads in Gauteng. Somebody who is in Bizana, who doesn't even have a road today to get to school, must be able to pay for Gauteng freeway. People in Msinga who have got to cross rivers infested with crocodiles to get to a pension payout must pay for a road in Gauteng. Is that what we want? Somebody in Kuruman, last year, children in the Northern Cape spent 4 months not going to school, mainly because of a road. Is that what we want? Do we want to exacerbate the inequalities in the country? So I just want to say, let us also understand, we're saying to the people in the country, then wait for another 100 years before roads come to you. And I think we need really to be understanding.
But Minister, I don't understand again this Gauteng must pay for Gauteng roads. All the roads surely belong to all South Africans because we will travel on them. Now, using your theory, if I'm in Pofadar and I want my roads developed, I need a number of cars to be traveling through. They don't have the population of cars. So their roads are not going to get developed if they alone are to pay for them. I am sure that Gautengers partly have to pay for that. So I'm not sure that I follow that argument that Gauteng must pay for Gauteng roads, and those smaller cities and towns that don't have the populations to toll and pay for their own roads, what happens to them?
Nazir has just explained that 86% of the road network is paid for through the fiscus, and 14% is the tolled ones. Some of those that have been concessioned, and now the GFAP. So I just want to say that the communities we're talking about, Pofadar and Springbok, and you're talking about something very close to my heart, the Northern Cape. I know what you're talking about. So the fact that there is not the number of vehicles on those roads doesn't mean that we don't have to maintain and build more roads in those areas. We're saying those are the ones that are covered by the 86% from the fiscus. The 14% that Nazir is talking about is because we needed to look for a way in which we accelerate. Unless you want to say, let us leave everything as it is and move at the pace that we are moving and not have any additional means to increase the pace and drive to build our roads. So I just want to say that it is important that we take this in context.
We're going to get a view from the viewers and also people on the floor. Nazir, are people signing up for the e-toll tags? Because it's imminent, but are people buying into it? Because we're getting a sense from Twitter and newspapers that people are either waiting to see or they're just not interested.
Peter, if I may just add to what the Minister said, it's most unfortunate that a lot of our commentators, don't look at the benefits which accrue to them because of improvements that we've made to the Gauteng freeways in Gauteng over there. We're always looking at the downside of the thing, but we're not looking at the benefits. A study way back in 2007 had shown that we were spending, all of us were traveling between Joburg and Pretoria, 40 hours a month. That's one whole week stuck in traffic, in that congestion over there. Now, if you do the calculations in terms of the loss of production, the wear and tear on your cars, your vehicle operating costs had increased. The pollution that we were creating because of the stop-go over there, you can see that once you take that into account, the benefits far outweigh the tariffs that we had publicized early on in this year already. The benefits, the studies are showing 8 to 1. The Road Freight Association also did their own independent study where they were looking at this issue in terms of whether we should add in a fuel levy, and they were looking at 13 cents a litre, or whether they should be paying the tolls. They found that by paying the tolls, with the discounts that we've been offering now, etc., they're going to be saving 300 million rands a year. Now that's the saving to the freight industry, which we hope that they will pass on further to the consumer as well. Now that's the benefits that we should be looking at as well, Peter, and not just on the one side of the coin that we unfortunately tend to look at. We've already got 600,000 tags in circulation already. Yeah,
600,000. What is the total population of cars potentially?
I'm going to come and explain that to you. 600,000, but we've noticed that since that the amendment bill has been signed into law, we're starting to see that there's an increase in the number of people who are buying tags. And as the Minister has said, in terms of by the time when we're going to start be tolling, etc., we believe that South Africans are generally law-abiding citizens. They will obey the law, they will get tagged, and the sales will increase, we believe it will. I haven't checked the most recent numbers, but we will check them at the end of the week.
What's the total number that you're looking for?
We've measured, Peter, 2.5 million vehicles on this network that we're using this road.
2.5 million.
But here's the nice thing about this thing. 83% of those people will be paying no more than 100 rands a month. Now, these are facts. This is not just some survey or anything. These are actually measured. That's what they will be paying. Not these numbers that we've been talking about or hearing about, where people have been exaggerating the numbers to say people will be paying 1,000 rands a month, 1,500 rands a month. Nobody's going to be paying that because we've also kept it for light vehicles at 450 rands a month, so nobody will be paying more than 450. In fact, it's less than 1% of the people who will actually reach that 450 rands a month, but 83% of the people, of that 2.5 million that we've measured, will be paying no more than 100 rand a month. Now, you calculate the benefits that accrue to the people, and that's the side of the coin that I also asked Peter that we should be looking at as well.
All right. All of this, again, I don't know, Minister, you tried to explain, and maybe questions will come through, but I just still trying to understand the cost of collection. There must be simpler ways of doing it.
That has been totally exaggerated. We've shown in court papers as well that the cost of collection is 17 cents in the rand. 17 cents in the rand. The 83 cents that we collect in the rand goes towards the maintenance of the road, and more importantly, paying off a debt. Don't forget that when we borrow money, like anybody else, we have to repay this debt with interest. And that's where the major cost.
So how much of that is debt in that rand?
The 83 cents, as I said, right, covers maintenance debt. I haven't got the exact figures in terms of what portion of it, but we have tabled that in the court papers, and it's available for anybody and everybody to see.
Okay.
It's not a secret.
Minister, last question on this before we go to our audience. If people were to find a way to convince you that there's a better way to do this, is it too late? Are you just going to go through with this? Or is it still possible to present another alternative that might be cheaper and satisfy all of these concerns that you might have? And you might say, we're going to scrap it, we're going to do something else.
I think if people of South Africa and Gauteng and those who visit Gauteng can come with a solution that is workable, that would actually make it possible that we can go to cabinet and show that it's working, that would be considered. But for now, this is the model that we are following.
All right, okay, we're going to take a quick break, and don't forget there are so many other issues other than e-tolling to discuss.